Hey, it's Deja from knitandcrocheteverafter.com, and today we're going to do the tubular bobble lace. We'll talk more about the lace after I show you the stitches, but to get started, go ahead and download the pattern from the link below, and here we go. Okay, so to start the tubular bobble lace, we're going to do a slip knot, and then the multiple is going to be 6 plus 2. So however wide you want it, you're going to times that by 6, however many repeats, add 2, and then for the actual foundation row, we have to add an extra 3. So we're going to do a 2 repeat sample. So we're going to do 6 times 2, which is 12. We're going to add 2 to that and then 3 on top of that. So we are going to do a chain of 12 plus 3 plus 2, so 17 altogether. So I'm going to chain 17 and then we'll get started on row 1. I've got 17 chains now, so we're going to start on row 1. Our first instruction is going to be to double crochet, chain 2, double crochet, all in the 4th chain from the hook. So we're going to skip those first 3 and start that pattern in the 4th chain. So double crochet, chain 2, double crochet. Next, after that little combo, we are going to skip our next 2 chains. So for the next stitch, we're going to do a DC cluster in the 3rd chain. So we're going to skip the next 2, and in this chain here, we're going to do a DC cluster. So we're going to yarn over, insert into our chain, yarn over and pull through the first 2. And we're going to do that 3 more times. Insert in, pull through the first 2 loops, yarn over, back in. It's number 3. And then the last one, number 4. Then to finish that off, we're going to yarn over and we're going to go through all 5 loops on the hook. So we're going to point our hook down so we can get through all 5 nice and easy. And then we're going to yarn over and chain 1 to kind of lock it in. That was the first stitch of our stitch repeat. And now we're going to do the next stitch. So we're going to skip 2 chains again, and this time we're going to do another DC, chain 2, DC. So 1 double crochet, 2 chains, and a double crochet. So we're repeating those 2 stitches all the way across. So now we're skipping 2 again, 1, 2, and doing our DC cluster into that 3rd chain. So 1, 2, oops, 3, and 4. And then we're going to yarn over and pull through all of those and chain 1 to lock it in. Then again, we're going to skip 2, and in this second to last chain, we're going to do a double crochet, chain 2, double crochet again. And then in that very last chain, we're just going to do 1 double crochet. So the skipped 3 at the beginning over here was our first double crochet that's by itself, and we're also going to do 1 at the very end by itself. Now we're ready for row 2, not round 2. Row 2, we're going to turn and we're going to do a tall chain. I love tall chains. They take the place of regular chains. So we're going to make it as big as a double crochet to take the place of a chain 3. And we're also going to double crochet into that very first stitch. So normally with a chain 3, you would skip it, but this keeps a gap from forming. So this gives us an actual double crochet, and it kind of masks this tall chain, and it creates a nice border instead of having those big gaps. I have lots of videos on tall chains and different things with tall chains being used, so check out my tall chain video. Next, we're going to skip a stitch and we're going to do our DC cluster in this chain 2 space. So this gets really easy to follow because you're just going to do the opposite of what's below. So this was the DC, chain 2 DC. Now we're going to do a DC cluster in it. Don't have to work into any loops. We just go all the way around that chain 2, which makes it really easy. So there's 2, 3 and 4, and then we're gonna yarn over, lock it in with that chain 1, and then we're going to skip the next stitch, and we're going to do our DC2 chain 2 DC in the top of the cluster. Don't get too caught up. You can either do it right at this stitch here, this is the chain 1 that we did, or you can do it in this bigger space of the cluster. I'm going to pick this bigger space just because it's easier to see, but you could work into either one. It really doesn't matter. So double crochet, chain 2, double crochet, then another DC cluster in the next stitch. So it's just the opposite of what is below. Very easy, very good pattern for watching TV because you can just look at what you did below and do the opposite. Lock it in with the chain, then get some slack. And what comes next? All we gotta do, look down below. Okay, doing a DC2, DC, chain 2, DC. And once you come to the end of the row, you're always going to do a double crochet. So the last stitch is really this, oh, you know, I'm skipping one here. I need one more cluster. Just kidding. So we're gonna do one more cluster. See, all I gotta do, I don't even have to look at my pattern. I just looked below and go, hey, I got a space here. I still gotta fill that. So we go 3 and 4, lock it in, and then on this last stitch, which is really the chain 3 turning chain, we're going to do a double crochet. Then we're ready for row 3. So row 3 is same as row 2 except backwards. So we're going to do the opposite again. We're going to do a tall chain and always do a double crochet in that very first stitch. That will never change. Then we have a cluster below, so we're going to do a double crochet, chain 2, double crochet. So why did you make this? As long as you're making it the correct number of stitches, you're not going to go wrong. Like, you will be able to figure out what you need to do next. So we have the open, so now we're doing the cluster. Great reversible fabric. Great pattern for TV watching. Really cool. This would be really good in self-striping yarn too, because of it kind of has that little offsetty kind of thing. It would look neat. Lock it in. And you're just basically repeating rows 2 and 3 over and over again. And it creates this cool reversible fabric. So there. At the end of this row, it's a DC chain 2 DC, and then as always we're doing a double crochet in that very last stitch. And this one, because we made a stitch with this tall chain, we can work right into that stitch. So that gives us some nice little bobbles and an open lace pattern. What I love about this fabric is that it's like totally reversible. So it's a great stitch pattern for scarves where you don't have to worry about which side is facing out. It doesn't need a whole lot of blocking. It's a really great fabric to use anything that you're going to have to wash often so that you don't have to re-block it every time. You can add a border along the side with some double crochets, so you would just kind of add multiple stitches, so you'd add like 2 stitches if you wanted 2 double crochets, and then just keep those like extra 3 for your foundation chain so that you can have that to work into. Lots of options with this stitch pattern. So hopefully you liked it. check out my other videos for more patterns and stitches and all that good stuff. And thank you for watching.